You're listening to the Variety Sports Network, your home for the best sports podcasters and live shows.
And we are live, and welcome to another episode of the Fatboy FadeAway Sports Podcast. I got Tyler McGurk with me up top. I got Brian Johnson with me below. Boys, how are we doing today, Tyler?
I'm doing good. Ready for episode 125. Got a good guest coming on. Good to see Brian down there in the lower box. I'm ready.
All right, Brian, how you doing? Did you get any
I'm
snow down there?
What?
No snow in San Diego?
I'm
Anaheim.
actually in
Or
Anaheim.
Anaheim?
A lot of rain, but no snow.
Well, to me, that was the biggest shocker of the week. I got some snow out here in Cloverdale. I've never seen it fall. I've said that many times here on the podcast, so I finally got to see that. With that said, Tyler, you mentioned we have a special guest. Let's not waste any more time. A guy I've known for a very long time here. Let's bring him in. William, out in Santa Cruz right now, does a little radio out there for KZSC. How you doing, Mr. Coolidge?
I'm doing very well. I'm super excited to talk basketball with you guys. As you know, my show's solo, so I don't really get to have that banter with people and be able to talk things out. So I'm super excited to talk about hoops.
You can take a deep breath too once in a while. Yeah, that's a thing.
Yeah. I have time to drink my water and stuff.
Yeah, exactly, man.
So, yeah,
well,
it's nice.
Did you get any snow out there? I heard that you guys got some crazy.
Yeah, we got a little. I mean, it depends where you are. Like,
yeah.
Some parts of campus got actually like a lot of snow, and then like where I'm at, there was just like everyone in my building around here. We just went outside, and there was like little snowflakes like on the ground, but yeah, there was snow. It was crazy.
I know you used to live in Cloverdale where I live. Did you see some of the pictures out here?
Yeah, that's insane.
Dude, I was like, what the?
I never seen that before. Yeah, it was
crazy.
wild.
All right, well, we're gonna get into some basketball here. We got William on here. First, let me take care of some business. First, go check out the merch like we did last week. Mentioned that. Go check that out. We got some really nice sweatshirts over there. If you like hoodies like me, we got some stuff over there. So be sure to check over the Fatboy FadeAway merch over at Bonfire there. Also wanted to give a big shout out to Jimmy and Nico for letting me and Tyler jump on Thursday night, talk a little NBA. Obviously, they're out in the Denver area, so we got to hit on their Nuggets a little bit, and they got absolutely smoked last night. Maybe we'll get into that a little bit too. So, but we got to talk about getting to their show. And Tyler, that was pretty fun jumping on the far end of the bench, finally joining with both of them.
Yeah, to get all four of us together, it's been a while in the making. It was a lot of fun. They do a great job. You should check them out. Yeah,
like you've always mentioned before, they're one of the big reasons we even joined the network too, just because of how good, how good they were and how much we listened to them before. So yeah, that was a big shout out to them. So with that said, guys, let's jump into what we always do, our first waking hot take of the day here. Let's go to our what if. I always kind of, I don't know, like I guess with the NBA, William, like now, obviously we're a little bit older than you in that regard. Like I kind of look in the past. I love to look in like the history of what could have been. I know some people, you don't want to suffer on that because it can make your mind go crazy. But to me, it's always fun to look at a few that way as well. Tyler, let me give you the first one. Give me a couple what ifs. I got more than we necessarily need. So just shout out a few and we'll go from there. Because they're your favorites, those are just kind of my big topics. So yeah, hit it up.
I got two off the bat. I'll go with what if Grant Hill doesn't get hurt when he goes to Orlando? He gets paired with McGrady at some point, and what happens with that duo? I think would have been interesting. 3-2 combo, which is deadly. And then another one is what if the rumors are true that they offered Steph instead of Monte, and the Bucks took Steph? This would have been another Warriors mistake that would have held them back for another 15 years.
William, you got a couple there?
Yeah, I was really trying to look past, there's the big ones, of course, like Derrick Rose and Rose and get injured and stuff like that. But my first one was what if the pandemic didn't happen? This is more of a recent one, but there's so many implications from that. Would the Heat have made their run in that year? Would they have made the finals? Would the Clippers have, folded 3-1 like they did against the Mavericks? Maybe was it because of the break that they ended up losing in the second round? So, because I remember they were a heavy favorite that year, the Clippers. So, that was I started thinking about, because of the pandemic also, that's also, ultimately that's why Kyrie Irving had so many problems. Most of his problem with the Nets was because of over the vaccination stuff. And so, I mean, if there's no pandemic, then you don't really need to get vaccinated for it. So, what would have happened there?
That is a major what if in the sports world. That is that's probably with every sport. LeBron, I feel like the Lakers still ended up winning the championship. They were probably favored to win that year. So I feel like that probably was the one thing for me. I'll throw in a couple here. I got Run TMC. The Warriors don't trade Richmond. I think that's a bad one from the Warriors standpoint there. For Billy Owens. Billy Owens, what are we talking about here, Don Nelson? Come on, what are we doing? I read some of the quotes. I went back and looked at why they did it, and they needed rebounding. They were getting critically out-rebounded, Don Nelson said. So they traded a Hall of Famer for Billy Owens. So not the best one there, Brian Johnson. I got the T-Wolves I've noticed were on my list a lot. So they were on my list.
A lot of mistakes.
I had one with the T-Wolves too. Yeah,
I got obviously the Curry one. To me, that was one. And then I posted a picture earlier in the week with it. I had to bring up the whole Marbury, Joe Smith illegal contract thing when they lose all those picks. And then they end up trading Marbury for Brandon, who was still good with the T-Wolves there for a short period of time. But just kind of that whole dynamic with that team. There's a couple I had there. Brian, you have any what if in NBA history?
Yeah, I guess I got to go kind of by Tyler. But this one is, Tim Duncan had visited Orlando, and what if they had signed? What if you had signed with Orlando? Like the San Antonio Spurs would have probably not gotten as many titles, and
if any.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember the poster, right, Tyler? They had that big poster with Grant Hill up and Duncan in their jerseys.
Yeah,
visit. It kind of seemed like it was a done deal back then.
Yeah, it was definitely there was a lot of smoke. That was for sure.
And then the other what if is if maybe Orlando had paid Shaq a lot of money and Shaq ended up not going to LA. Like how good would have Orlando have been?
Kept Penny and Shaq together. A lot of Penny's injuries, obviously. We'll see. That was part of it as well. But good. T.
One of my other what ifs, and going off of that one, what if everyone just didn't trade their the best players to the Lakers and Celtics in the 70s, 80s, 90s, all the way to Shaq, and then Kobe gets traded to the Lakers, Ray Allen, KG go to Boston. It just seems like these players always end up on Boston or the Lakers. And going back even further, having to do with our Warriors and the Celtics, we traded Robert Parrish and basically what ended up being Kevin McHale for two bums, basically. Just a typical Warriors move. I mean, what if we hold on to Paris? We bring in McHale. Is that Warriors team something?
I like Logan here. Go to bed. He's probably been up. He probably just went to bed an hour ago. I feel you, man. We get up early. We rock and roll here on the West Coast. 3 kids forced to end a little bit with that. All right, yeah. William, you got a couple other ones there?
This one's another kind of more recent one, but it's kind of under the radar too. Do you guys remember when it was rumored that Klay Thompson was going to get traded for Kevin Love back before the championship run? That's crazy looking back. Had that fallen through, because I mean at the time Kevin Love was undoubtedly the better player. So I mean,
I remember the talk being after that. I don't know if you remember the same Jerry West saved the day.
Yeah. That's he wanted to hold on to Klay.
He wanted to Klay because he knew Michael Thompson, obviously. So he did. Good decision to always listen to
Unbelievable decision.
Good decision. That was to me Joe Lakem's best thing. He didn't overpower anybody in that regard. Tyler, I remember we talked about that. That was his best decision, to do nothing in that regard with it. So that was a good one there. I always feel like a good what if too is if I don't know why this one always stood out to me, and I remember it thinking the lottery night when LeBron James was at stake. And there was the Grizzlies and the Cavs. I don't know why I was in my head, I was like, is he really going to play for Memphis? I thought Cleveland just because it's a hometown, but I just was, for a second there, that's always a massive what if to me. If he was just one pick away, he would have been on the Grizzlies. And just we talked about everything there. A couple other ones here. I'll go through it quicker here. I always like a couple draft day trades. Ray Allen, Marbury, Carter Jamison. Those stood out to me. What if Sacramento beats your Lakers, Johnson? What if they beat the Lakers in that Western Conference Finals? How much does that change things for the Kings' history? Because they probably go on to beat the Nets in the finals as well. Just a massive what if, obviously, for this area. To me,
and then what the heck was Charlotte thinking? giving up Vlade Divac for Kobe Bryant.
No, they got Vlade.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
then they gave up Kobe and then only got Vlade Divac back.
They knew the flop was coming into play. They knew the Vlade flop was coming.
No, for that. I was reading on a couple other ones. You guys can comment on for because obviously we have some Grizzlies followers out there. Some guys from Memphis. I read there one that got the biggest one is obviously the year they lost to the Warriors in 2015. Because I've read plenty of articles about, and we got our guy here, Ryan Harris, checking in. What's up, Ryan? Appreciate you checking in. Hope everything's going well out there in Tennessee. Appreciate you checking in. Yeah, we're talking what ifs. And speaking of, I think he's a Grizzlies fan there. I was reading an article about Conley saying, so to him, that's the biggest what if in his mind for that run was because he got hurt. He broke his face the round before with McCollum, and then Allen had the hamstring issue. So everybody has their what if, but as our Grizzlies fans, I don't know if you agree with that, but that was the one that it seems like from a Memphis standpoint that they they definitely did not like as well.
Well, they were up 2-1, right? They were up 2-1.
They were they were up 2-1. Then to me the biggest game in Warriors is Game 4. Just franchise changing. Thank you, Harrison Barnes, for showing up. Thank you, Harrison Barnes, for showing up at Game 4. And then
Don't
to
say
me,
that often.
And Steve Kerr's adjustment he made in that series, putting Bogan on Tony Allen and just letting him shoot threes or leaving him wide open was
that's crazy,
game changing.
I mean, that's something you do in youth basketball with the box and ones and stuff. All right, we're gonna let that. You can't. I think that series almost changed the thinking for so many of us. A couple other ones here I got, and to me, maybe the biggest one is there's the David Stern vetoing the Chris Paul trade to the Lakers was like a game changer because it was like the Lakers. I remember thinking before that the Lakers are going to get another guy. Like they just this franchise to that point just always got the guy, right, yep. Brian? You know that we've got a free agent, we get him. We get to get him. We're the Yankees of the basketball. We just keep plucking the best players from other franchises. That's what you guys did over and over again. And then to me, the most kind of drama-filled one is the Sterling situation. What if that video never comes out and that with that franchise there? Maybe he eventually gets kicked out, but that's a lot harder to do without that. A good thing for the NBA, but I
think it was a beneficial thing to get him out and get an owner who's willing to spend more money in there. One last what if? What if you pair Michael Jordan with Clyde Drexler and they don't take Sam Bowie 2 overall? Just probably the 2 best shooting guards until – I don't know. Maybe who's the next best shooting guard who comes into the league after those 2 guys? I don't know. It would have been tough to stop those 2 guys. Dominique wasn't a shooting guard.
No, I guess not. It was a small.
But I mean, how would that have affected? Look at Scottie Pippen. I mean, what would have Scottie Pippen done without Jordan?
And our guys over at Let's Be Real, Ryan Harris, he's checking in with us. He listens. That's how we kind of met, was through that show. What do they always say, Tyler? It's the what is over what if. And so at the end of the day, these are all just they're all hypotheticals, but they're just kind of fun to look through. And for me, it's kind of more fascinating to look at the teams and the mistakes they made. Like William, you probably remember this one. Is a big one. As Durant, Harden, Westbrook. If the OKC aren't cheap, just the idea of keeping those 3 together. I mean, they went to 1 finals with no experience. You got to think they continue something like that going. You got a couple others there that stood out to you, Willie?
Yeah. Let's see. One of my other ones that was it's more minor, I think, but it's just if Boogie didn't get hurt when he was with Anthony Davis, because
I had that down there.
yeah, because they were fun to watch, that big duo, and I mean, of course, the year that he got traded midway through the season in 2017, and then they didn't make the playoffs. But the next year, I'm pretty sure they were on track to make the playoffs, and the Pelicans did, even without Boogie, and they had a run without. They played the Warriors, and they stole a game from them. So I believe they did. They stole a game from them. They beat the Blazers, if you remember. So if they had Boogie, I mean, how much more damage could they have done?
It's funny you had that one down because I had the same thing. That one was a big one for me because it was Tyler knows this, and you maybe know it too. Is I like the running things through the big guy with the 5.
Yeah.
We got right. I like running into the plays with the big man, and they were just so different at that time. They were both healthy. Somewhat, maybe Davis not as much, but they were still somewhat healthy. That would have been so different compared to everybody else at that time. Tyler, I remember us thinking that was a good trade for them.
Yeah, that was a Very good trade. But
Tyler,
the Pelicans,
I knew you knew that one.
Brandon Roy was my guy. He was like my favorite player, and he even went to my rival school that I hate, and he still found a way in my heart. That was a tough loss. Big injuries. Odin was,
that was a tough one.
Yeah, best player in college.
Blazers in their history with injuries.
Yeah, Sam Bowie, like we brought up earlier. It's sad history. Bill Walton, even. You didn't go back that far. What happens if Bill Walton stays healthy his whole career? I think another one injury is Sean Livingston. People don't realize what a prospect he was coming into the NBA. He was like the next Magic Johnson, who's 6'8". He could see over people. He could pass. He could score. What if he doesn't get hurt?
Yeah. No, that's a good call. And that's why it's so awesome that he has such that finish with the Warriors at the end of his career to kind of I don't know, at least kind of show a little bit more than that he was capable of. Yeah, he was, a different player too. And he was able to adapt his game. Yeah, that's a good call there, Tyler. I didn't think of him. My dad, I texted him. He said he always says this one, the Weber-Nelson situation. He always feels like that's a big what if because he's like, he always says, why did they you don't keep the coach? Dad, I'm a coach. But I always thought that was a good one for the Warriors because, Weber, obviously, maybe, you can't trade him Johnson in your prime. You saw how good he was with the Kings.
Yeah, with Sacramento, too.
I know. So, Brian, you got one last one? And then I got one last thing here.
I think the biggest what if is like if the Blazers hadn't have blown that lead in Game 7 to the Lakers, if they had made the finals,
They could hit a free throw.
I would have loved to see it. I would have loved to see it. That's what I would have loved to see that, Brian. That would have been very nice to see that. No, that's a good one. That was a big blow lead there at the time. A huge.
It's always tied to Rasheed Wallace too. Is that why he at some point said both teams play hard because he kept saying the stuff?
That's my favorite quote of all time. It's even better than the other one. Yeah, T.
But back to the Don Nelson thing and why I don't think me and you have had this argument about wins and Hall of Famers and coaches. Don Nelson almost did more harm to the Warriors. We brought up these what ifs than his wins mattered. That's why I don't bringing it back to that wins thing and what ifs. That's my main why he hurt the Warriors more than he helped them, even though they won a lot of games with him.
That's an interesting concept. I need to maybe dive that. Maybe that needs to go on our new NBA show here that we're doing a little dive deep on the give and go here, starting in a couple weeks on VSN. That might be something we need to really hit on a little bit more. That's an interesting point. How many wins were actually beneficial to the team? I know they won a game with 5 players the last game.
That last season was bananas.
That last game of his career, he wins a game with 5 players on the court. Still one of my favorite Don Nelson moments ever. All right, the only one I did not mention. Only one I did. What did I have here? Was I got from the Hawks was the Paul. I always feel like if they because they had that situation where they passed on Chris Paul and Darren Williams, and they took Marvin Williams out of North Carolina. Always just kind of one that stood out of my head the whole time back then. 2005, both great players. And then I never got to see him play, but it was on every what if I ever looked up on today was Len Bryant. So that one was on every single one as well. So those are massive what ifs as well. The other thing I want to get into with it now as we get into what if. Anybody got any last thoughts on what if, Tyler? William, you guys good? Got anything else there?
We're good.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got maybe what if Kawhi Leonard gets paired with Paul George as a rookie? They had his drafting rights, and they traded him for George Hill, and that team later goes to be the number 1 seed in the East with George Hill. Just imagine a Kawhi Leonard.
No, that would be Brian. I wanted to give you one last round though, because I know you got probably an NFL one somewhere right there. You got. You got a what?
Yeah,
if.
There's plenty of what ifs for the NFL.
Charles Haley.
Charles. Yeah, that was a bad trade. We shouldn't have traded Charles Haley to the Dallas Cowboys, but
this is a big one too. And I think Mark
he peed on George Seifert's car.
Yeah, that would be what.
but then later on, I guess he took a helmet and almost hit Jerry Jones in the head in the locker room. How crazy is that?
That's how good he was. He could do these things, and he was still sought after.
Maybe it was cold outside. He was trying to unfreeze the time. I do like this one with Dallas because that was an interesting series. That one I was looking at that series has a lot of what ifs. Miami has a ton of what ifs because they have that one, and then they have the Spurs one. Just get a rebound, San Antonio, and they have a few in those situations with it. The Dallas one's always interesting to me because I just remember at the time how much Mark Cuban was beat-crotching about the calls and how
rightfully so.
It was like
didn't he do a lawsuit?
He probably did.
I think he did a lawsuit or something.
I think you're right.
I remember he would like video. I remember he like was hilarious like with the stuff. He's like, I have like every data on. He was analytics on the refs before they even had analytics. It was like crazy the way he did stuff. Appreciate P Shark checking in there. Logan, I appreciate the baseball talk. We will get into that at the end of the show. Winners and losers. Hang on. So if you're up early, hang on for about another 45 minutes. We'll get to baseball here in a little bit because I have an interesting thought on the pitch clock moving forward. And all right. Let's kind of keep it going with basketball here. That was a good take on. That was a good topic on what if. Great discussion there. Let's get into the Warriors real quick as we kind of hit on other NBA topics here in a second. They get crushed with the Lakers right out of the gate. I mean, they just get smoked. A very disappointing loss. I mean, just I don't know, just not a good loss. And then you come back. Klay hits 12 threes, gets no twos. I just love that part about the stat there. I guess my thought with the Warriors is like. I know we said, the playing game's automatic. The West is pretty even, and they're showing us every time they are just a 500 team. And my last question there, have they lost their identity? To me, it feels like a team like he's really trying to find something right now. You can see it struggling the whole time. And I don't know, you have these little moments with Poole at the free throw line last night and other stuff where it's just off like with their team a little bit. What do you think, William? What do you see? You've been doing the Warriors talk here every Saturday. What do you kind of see from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's just obviously without like Curry's our superstar and he's a superstar in the league. So I mean, when he's gone, you're gonna feel a difference. But like you shouldn't. The Warriors have such good depth and they're just overall their team. I mean, it seems like if anything, they're built to have offense without Curry. You know, you have Jordan Poole, you have all these shot creators, shot makers. And it just seems like I read a stat that they're 27th. They have a 27th offense rating without Curry and their third offense rating with Curry. And so like it's just, and you see it in these droughts. Like they played the Lakers right before the All-Star break and they went into like a 4-minute scoring drought or something like that. And I think that was the game Poole ended up scoring like 13 straight or something. But like you can't rely on that. You can't rely on these, these guys going on like 14, 15 point runs for you. Like you need to have. And I mean, I think that's you said like, is there something different about the Warriors? And something that I have a feeling, I don't really like, I can't really back this up, but it doesn't feel like the same, doesn't feel like the same ball moving, like, selfless Warriors offense that, I mean, for me, that was like what made me fall in love with the Warriors, watching them back, like when Kerr, back in 2014, 15 and stuff. And, I think that we've noticed that since Durant left, or since Durant, has been off the team the past few years. Of course, he won the championship last year, but the offense just doesn't feel like it runs the same.
Especially the second unit. The second unit, there's such a massive drop off now. You know what I mean? Like, there's no ball movement with that unit.
Yeah,
there's like no chemistry. It just always ends up in like high pick and roll if they don't get any.
Yeah, with Jordan Poole. Yeah. Exactly.
It's pretty ugly to watch. Tyler, what do you think about Klay's performance this week? I mean, I watched him on Thursday, and it's just like, you're seeing some of the struggles, and it's like you can see it's frustrating. Then he has a game like against the Rockets, and you're like, I don't know. You can feel he's at the end of his career. That doesn't mean he's a bad player, but you just feel these little things along the way while watching him. Like the 12 threes are really good, where you're like, that's awesome, but you also see no twos. And it's a settle. That's what I would do when I was at, just kind of hovering around now at this point, still NBA level hovering, but you get my point on that point. So, Tyler, what do you think of Klay this week? And maybe they're on that point of the Warriors' identity kind of just seems like it's gone now.
I mean, he played not very good against the Lakers, like you guys pointed out. But if you take away the first 20 games of the season, where he's recovering from injuries, he's recovering from the NBA Finals, and he doesn't have any offseason. Me and you talked about it. He didn't practice even with the team for like the last week until the season started. You take away those 20 games, he has probably the most. I don't know this for a fact, but I know he has more points, assists, and rebounds per game than he did even in his prime years. And those first 20 games, he sucked. He was one of the worst players in the NBA. Like, we were worried that his career's over. Yeah. It's obviously not over. He's still an unbelievable shooter. I think he's the second best shooter of all time, and I don't really think it's particularly close. as far as the Warriors' identity, I feel like it's just so many injuries. Wiggins is having some family issue where he's not even with the team. And then I think Kerr's kind of lost sort of his voice in the locker room. I don't think that he's as listened to. I almost think it's time to just get a new head coach. I think he's a great head coach. I'll never have a bad word to say about him. It just feels like his voice isn't hitting home anymore.
What do you think to that, William, with Kerr? Because to me, it seems like this has been his biggest issue with them, like all year. Like the fan base is like, obviously, Tyler said we're always gonna have respect for him, but it definitely does feel like his voice there's something not there this year.
Yeah, I don't know about that because like I mean I'm not in the locker room. I don't really know what's going on, but I definitely have my criticisms of Kerr. Just like, he's supposed to be this all-time coach. He's supposed to be, throughout the past years in the Warriors dynasty, he's kind of, people are elevating him up to like near the Popovich level. Not at there yet. I think some people might have him there, but he's supposed to be in the all-time great coaches at this point. But I personally, I think you've seen on Twitter, maybe like, I don't agree with like a lot of his minutes, like who he puts in at certain times and just certain things. And so, I mean, I don't know if I want to get rid of Kerr necessarily. I mean, he's like tenured at this point. It feels like he's done so much to the Warriors. Like, it just feels like, I don't know what you would do. Like, that would just I feel like there'd be such a gaping hole after, those are big shoes to fill. But
I don't think you get rid of him in that regard. It just feels like he's lost maybe this locker room for the time. But I kind of want to, to me, it's like hard. Brian, Draymond punched out a guy to start out the season. I mean, that's never easy, probably.
Yeah. Tyler, where's the Draymond rip today?
Well, he didn't play this week. I'm not. If he didn't play, I probably would be ripping.
I think that's part of it, though. Like, it's just such a weird start to the whole damn year. Like, it's like one of your players gets knocked out from your guy that's a free agent next year, and then Myers is still a free agent going into next year. Like, Bob Myers, like the GM position isn't even resolved. So I don't know. They got a lot of questions to answer going into the offseason here. And just finishing out the last 20 games to it. William, you got some other thoughts here on the Warriors?
Yeah, I actually I had a question for you guys. I talked about this on my show yesterday. Because, of course, the Warriors only have one roster spot left. I don't know the exact timetable of when they have to make a decision, but I do know they have to choose between Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb for I guess theoretically they don't need to pick either of them. They could just get a free agent. Also, so with that in mind too, I mean, they are going to probably pick one of those two. Also leads us to think about Iguodala. Like, was it a good thing to bring back Iguodala last year? Like, of course, it was kind of like we were in the honeymoon phase because, we got rid of him after, with the whole KD fiasco going to Brooklyn, and he eventually came back and then he won the championship. I thought he was going to retire after, winning the championship, just right out into the sunset. But he came back and he hasn't been playing at all for the Warriors. And I mean, like, even when he did come in, I think he played like a game or two this season, and like he wasn't that great. Like, Kerr was giving him minutes just because he's his guy, but he wasn't that great. And so, like, I don't know, I'm kind of frustrated with having Iguodala on the roster because I'd love to have Ty Jerome and Anthony Lamb. Like, it's so hard for me to pick between the two. I think I have a feeling of who the Warriors are going to pick just because based off of roster needs and position wise. But what do you guys think about that?
Well, I can't say I like Anthony Lamb and Ty Jerome in the same sentence. It's hard for me to do on that part. I can't.
Really?
There's just a frustration I have with both players at moments. I think Jerome's the better of the two players. I think Lamb probably fits the roster a little better at the moment, especially when Curry's in. But I think Jerome is the better player. But I just feel like if he's getting as much minutes as he's getting in Lamb, I just don't see us. And that, to me, Tyler, that's just not a great side.
Yeah, I'm not big Ty Jerome. I mean they are playing because that we need them to play. If they're playing in the playoffs, if we make the playoffs, we're gonna get cooked on the defensive side of the ball. I'll go to the Iggy point. Yeah, it was a mistake to bring him back. Like, at this point, he provides nothing except for maybe some locker room leadership. But like I said before, it doesn't seem like anyone's getting through to these guys.
Yeah.
The offense isn't the same as it was before. So, yeah, I think bringing Iggy back, they shouldn't have done. I think we could use another roster spot for guys who are actually going to be healthy enough to play. So, yeah, I think that was a good point to bring up.
What's the guy on the Heat that what's the guy on the Heat
Udonis?
Udonis for
Haslam.
Udonis Haslam.
Yeah. I think the thing that's frustrating to me is that you're right. He's only played like a game or two, and every game he plays, he has jumper knee or something at the end of the game. I just think he's done. I don't think he has anything left in the tank. I mean, even if we get to the playoffs, I mean, maybe he'll have a moment or two as a facilitator, but like I think he's smarter defensively. But like on the offensive end, we can't play him and Draymond at the same time anymore. I just don't think that's possible unless the other two guys are just so on fire, and especially with Wiggins. I'd be shocked if that lineup was even possible anymore. So I don't know. I think it definitely was a mistake bringing him back because I think it now cuts, like you said, a roster spot. But I think they had obviously the best intentions at Hope with him. But Kuminga, he's a coach now. That's what he is. He's there to coach Kuminga up a little bit, William. That's what his job is right now. So yeah, Iggy's always a good point with it. Tyler, anything else on the Warriors? Did you want to get back to the Wiseman point on him?
Yeah, I'd love to hear what you think about this, William. Once I'm done, I just don't understand the trade. It doesn't make sense at this point. Why are we getting a guy, especially when we had a chance to realize he's not going to play this year? Really, maybe he gets in the last 8 games. I don't get it. Just we're 40-40. We're going to go 500, like you said before. We've been 500 the whole year. Why don't we just play the guy? This is my biggest frustration with Kerr. We need size. I hate the trade looking back. At first, I tried to like it. I was like, it's not that bad. We get Gary Payton. He won a champion. Just play the big guy and let him make mistakes. Like last night for the Pistons, he played 20 minutes with 5 and 9. He fouled out in 20 minutes. So there is still the negatives that he brings, but just let him realize his potential on the Warriors. And if he doesn't realize it, at least we don't get an injured guard who was
And that's where I was pissed. Like, why are we playing Wiseman? Why are we not, Brian, playing this number 2 pick over Anthony Lamb? You know what I mean? So it's like the same thing. And it's like, what are we doing? Like that makes no sense at all. So it's just
I agree with you guys completely. Like I've talked about this on my show, especially when the trade went down. It was just there's just so many things wrong with it in my mind. First of all, okay, we trade away Wiseman. That's been in the cards for feels like a while now. There's always been trade talks about Wiseman. But first of all, why get a guard? My thing with the Warriors, I feel like we have great our guard depth. We don't need any more guards. Dante DiVincenzo essentially does what Gary Payton, did for us last year. Maybe lesser on the defensive end, but he's a guy who will go amongst the trees, rebound amongst the trees. He'll play hard. He'll hit his open shots. And that's pretty much what Gary Payton did. And it's weird. I don't know. We also have Moses Moody kind of rotting on the bench now. So it's
big time Roddy on the bench.
And I'm a big fan of Moody, and I was advocating for him to get traded. I love him on the Warriors, but I like him more as a player, and I want to see him develop. So it's kind of frustrating. And then so not only do we have a lot of guards, but then Gary Payton II's not even really playing. He's going to reevaluate in a month. It's just I don't know what's going to happen with that. And I personally wanted to hold on to Wiseman, and I agree with you completely, Darren. I wish, they just gave him more minutes. In December, he had a 30-point game. And he showed great flashes of what he could do. And that's what I was mad about Kerr about is in the press conference, he was saying how after they trade Wiseman, he just didn't really fit with what we were doing. And I'm like, man, that's because of you partly. You barely played him. You weren't giving him any minutes. And especially in the lead up to the trade, Wiseman, I get if you're about to trade some guy, you don't really want to play him. But his minutes were wildly inconsistent. Kerr, it seemed had he just didn't want to play him at all. And yeah, it's just I don't get the trade. I think if you were to trade Wiseman, I wish you would have got at least a big man out of it. Their tallest guy right now is 6'9". It's Kevon Looney, and we've seen
I was going to say, you did hear our podcast last week. You said that the Warriors have no luck with big, so it's a good thing they just moved on from. They can't have tall players on their team. It's not allowed. They can only pick them up on waivers. Anybody over 6'8" is not allowed to play for him. It's frustrating. I agree.
Wouldn't you rather have just gotten Sadiq Bey from Detroit? At least he's on the court and he's
100%.
young and can play. I just don't.
It was money, right? It was like don't the Warriors save like 170 million in luxury tax or something like that? Like that's what I
Tatum's getting
heard.
paid $9 million a year. I can't
I know,
imagine
that's
it
what
being
I heard.
that much different.
I agree. Let's ask this last question here real quick, then we'll kind of move on to the other topics in the NBA. So give me a quick answer, Brian. What do you think? Do you think the Warriors, if Curry comes back, do you think they can repeat at all, or do you think they're toast at this point, regardless?
I don't think they're going to win the NBA championship, but maybe they could make a run in the playoffs, maybe knock somebody out in the first round or something. But I don't see them going back to the NBA finals.
William, healthy Curry, healthy Wiggins, they're a chance?
I think there's always a chance. But like is it looking good? I don't know.
You're like Brian now with the Niners. I like that. That's how Brian did with the Niners. There's always a chance. Brian's been opposite with William on that one. I like it. No, I hear you on that one. Tyler, what do you think with Curry coming back?
I agree with William. There's always a puncher's chance if you have Steph Curry on the court, but everyone's got Wiggins is just as important to come back and be able to play defense and hit open threes and play like he did in the playoffs. Like he's not rebounding the same this year as he did in the playoffs. So if Wiggins and Steph get back healthy and they're fully and Draymond's healthy for that playoff run, could they? Yeah, but that's a lot to ask for at this point. I don't expect it to happen.
All right, let's keep it moving here with some of the other NBA things here. Let's start with the Celtics. They have just a crazy win last night, crazy last 5 minutes of that game. As the season goes on, it's kind of like I was thinking with the NFL, Tyler. It was like we kind of broke down Brian to basically just what was the Bengals, Bills, Eagles, and Chiefs, obviously, and then we had the Niners and Eagles. We kind of knew who the favorites were. I kind of feel like in the NBA, the same thing's happening here, where the Celtics are kind of just, to me, kind of showing themselves as the heavy favorites. What do you think, Brian? You think they're the heavy favorites there to finish out the season?
Yeah, I mean, especially with, it just seems them or the Bucks are in the East.
Yeah, that seems to be the heavy favorites coming out of the East. It seems like the Sixers, they do show signs here, William, of it. But what do you think with Boston? Do you think they're the heavy favorites? Like I'm starting to think. I mean, I know it was a close game last night, but they're just kind of have that finals, and they got to have that edge after that loss last year.
Yeah, I think, I haven't really been thinking about it. I just feel like it's so like the league is so open right now. It's like I haven't even tried to like pinpoint who I think is it. But I think if I had to pick a favorite, I think it would be the Celtics. I think like especially the Bucks are, definitely a good option. But there's the thing with Giannis. Like, didn't he got injured the other night and he's having some problems. So, and of course, Middleton has been out. Like he's coming off the bench right now, just trying to get back. And so I think, the Bucks have some problems that the Celtics don't have. And so, yeah, I think as of right now, I think the Celtics for sure. Also, it seems like they're having that storied season with Tatum winning the All-Star Game MVP. So it looks like the cards are kind of lining up for them to, have a storied season.
He was the only chance. They were going one-on-one the whole time.
Yeah.
We get to that at our question of the week here. That's ridiculous. Tyler, what do you think of that?
Are they the favorite?
Heavy.
I don't think they're that. I don't think they're that heavy. I think Phoenix is right there with them. Any team with Durant and then with Booker. I just like the two wings that nobody can stop, and I'd rather have Durant and Booker than Brown and Tatum. That's just my personal preference. I think it would be a great finals. I think Horford-Ayton match up. I think it's just good. It would be a good game. I just always side with Durant when it comes to these things.
I kind of have like a little. We're not going to get into it. The Heat, I feel like, would be the team. Like none of these teams want to match up against either because they're like the team that could wear you down in that second. You got to be like if you do have to play like you just don't want to be. If I was the Bucks or Celtics, I would not want to play the Heat anywhere in that second round. Just
that's a dog.
You get playoff Butler too, and that's a little different. You get Jimmy Butler is a different player in the playoffs too. Hey, I've learned. P. Shark has taught me. Do not doubt Jimmy Butler. I got it. I don't doubt him anymore in the playoffs. That's one thing I know. I think it's interesting with them and going forward here with it. Also, that set play. I saw the Grizzlies run it last year with Morant at the end of the game where they put him way back in the backcourt. They get the ball to somebody at the top of the three-point line. They basically or half court, and he basically just has to run a route and they pass it to him. I was thinking through that last night, how hard of a play that has to be to stop for a defense. Like that is a tough play when you have somebody going full speed and like multiple options and like you're not just guarding the three, you're guarding a two as well. Like that's just to me a very hard play to stop. All right, let's keep it going here. Russell Westbrook, he joins the Clippers. They end up playing a great game against the Kings the other night. We'll get to that in a second here. Do you think, real quick here, Willie, do you think Russell Westbrook will actually help the Clippers at this point?
Yeah, it's so tough. I feel like so much the narrative right now is like, oh yay, like Westbrook's in such a better situation, like he's gonna thrive and shine. And I mean, like, I definitely, I think it's nothing but I think it's a positive for them. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like if he's, racking up turnovers and stuff, like just take him out. I think, being on the Lakers humbled him enough. Like, it's not we're at a point where, yeah, you could take out Westbrook, like it's fine. Like, and like, so I honestly think that, at his point in his career, I think he will help the Clippers. Cause like, I think he's liable to, have like a prime Westbrook game every now and then. So I think, and he also has Mason Plumlee, which, I mean, that's, I mean, I don't know, when I think of Westbrook and I just think of when he was like back in OKC, he would spoon feed like Steven Adams. So I just see like Mason Plumlee getting spoon fed. Just like, I don't know, having
the one thing Mason Plumlee can do is take a pass and make it
finish.
That's the one thing he can do. And he does his defensive rotations, William. He does his defense. Hey, what do you think to this, William? I got real quick here, and then I'll let Tyler jump in on it. He's so far. The one thing with him, and I'm gonna do it more next week because it's too much of a deep dive. Was I wanted to compare Westbrook and Iverson, and the numbers are crazy, some of their stuff. But obviously, Iverson never got the rebounds and assists. Westbrook always fills the stat sheet, though. I mean, it doesn't matter how he's on there; he fills the stat sheet for good or bad, right? I read quotes, Tyler, all over this trade, like, "Oh, this guy, he's not gonna help at all. He's gonna kill him." Blah blah blah. I think with this team, he could figure it out, though, William.
Yeah, Westbrook.
Yeah,
I like I said, I think it's a positive for them. I think like he's like you saw the turnovers, like he's averaging 3.5. I think that's just the biggest thing for Westbrook, like just the turnovers. Like, I mean, you can kind of live with pretty much everything else, but it's just the turnovers. But it's like, I don't know, and like they also have great guard depth. So if like I say ideally, like if Westbrook is if he's playing very well, then you have a good chance of winning that game. Yeah. But then, like, if he's having a good shooting game, like, just keep him in. He helps you out, and you probably win. So, I mean, does it make them a contender? I don't think so. I think it makes them better. I don't know if it makes them a contender, though. I mean, if anything, their other moves do. I think, getting Eric Gordon and Bones Highland, I think that makes them – I think just – as a conglomerate, Westbrook, Highland, all of those moves, and Plumlee just makes them way better. But I don't know if the Westbrook move alone does, moves the needle that much.
Tyler, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I like Westbrook. He's going to bring a fire to the game. He just needs. I mean, it sounds awful to say, like he just needs to not shoot the ball and turn it over. Like he isn't going to make shots. He's very inefficient. But if he just is like a pace setter and like plays basketball, like against when they scored 175 points against the Kings, his defense, obviously no one played defense, but he only took 13 shots in 40 minutes. So like you can live with that. And he had 14 assists. He just can't shoot. Just limit your shot attempts and play defense. And like he brought up, the Clippers are so deep. Bones Highland, Robert Covington, two guys the Warriors would kill for at this point, aren't even they're getting DNPs. Like it's just the depth is wild. Are they a contender? Yeah, I think with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, you're a contender. They're not a favorite or anything, but I wouldn't count them out just yet.
Yeah, I feel like the Clippers are definitely one that they're in that top 3 conversation. Maybe come playoff time, will be interesting how good Leonard is, because Leonard is to me, he's like kind of like we don't give him enough respect when it also comes down. We do, but we kind of forget it as well because he never plays for 2 years. But when he's in, he kind of just quietly kills you. He does.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. He's a killer out there. He shuts his mouth and gets baskets, and so that part always kind of worries me. And then Paul George is kind of the X factor I always feel like with them, because if he's feeling it, like you know what I mean, like that's good. Let's keep on that note. We'll keep it going here. Game of the year, I got game of the year 174. No defense played, second highest scoring game of all time. My note coming out of it though is, everybody's like, oh, can the Grizzlies make the Western Conference Finals? I think that we've already mentioned the Grizzlies are like they have a good chance to make the Western Conference Finals. Doesn't mean that they're going to, but they have a better chance. The Kings are the surprise. They're in the 3 seed. So I mean, and they're beating they're just continuing to find ways to get wins, even with no defense played at times. They're still figuring it out. They're riding that Fox pick and roll with Sabonis, Monk in there. Brian, I mean, what would you think of the Kings? We mentioned it before that maybe making it with the Lakers. I mean, wouldn't it be so crazy to see them finally making the Western Conference Finals? Do you think there's any chance they could make it?
I mean, their fan base when they get in the playoffs, they're pretty crazy. They get the cowbells out and they go nuts. So I think that would be a cool aspect if they made the playoffs. Is their home crowd is it still called Arco Stadium?
No, it's something else now. Oh, yeah. It's still called Arco?
No. They broke that down. That's actually where our sisters graduated, though. When we went to that graduation.
Yeah, it looked like a piece of junk. My God, no wonder they changed.
Our sisters graduated Sac State at the same time, and we went to their graduation. We literally were in the last row up top. It was it was a crazy old building. It was awesome, though. Well, what do you guys think of that game though the other night? I mean, I've seen the highest scoring game, which was the Nuggets versus the Warriors on video replay. I've watched it many times growing up. And it's just the craziest game. Maybe go back and watch it. Avery Johnson's on the Nuggets. They're like full court pressing the whole game. It's really weird. Like it's not like anything you'll ever see nowadays. What do you think of the game of the year here? And can the Kings maybe make a run into the Western Conference Finals there, William?
Yeah. For the Kings, I love watching them play, and I just love Sabonis so much. I think I'm like you, Darren. I like the post game a lot, and I just love the way Sabonis plays, like just a facilitator at the big spot, pick and roll monster. And I mean, like I think this is just a feel good. I think for the Kings, they're just happy to be here. After so many years of just turmoil and just mediocrity of being less than mediocre. So I mean, I don't think they get past the second round, to be honest. I mean, it's just so many people out west.
I hear you.
I don't know if they make it past. I highly doubt they make it.
Can I ask you this real quick? Hold on. Yeah. Do you think they could beat? Let me just ask. Do you think they could beat Dallas? Yes or no?
That's interesting. No, I got Dallas. Yeah, definitely.
Denver.
I got Denver. Yeah.
Could they beat the Warriors?
That's a low bar right now.
But if they can't, I mean, I would think the Warriors. If the Warriors played the Kings, right? And I would think in all our heads we're like, okay, the Warriors have a chance. Or will we not think that?
I think if anyone in the playoffs, the Warriors want to play the Kings at this point. So I think that one is more. That one's probably. The Kings have a better chance of winning just because of what the Warriors are going, like what's going on with the Warriors right now, especially with the big spot. I mean, Sabonis would just tear up the Warriors, I think. I mean, unless Draymond would decide to play defense, but
he's too worried about his podcast.
He's too
right.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, yeah. So I mean, I in that case, I probably got the Kings, but the Warriors have very good chance of winning that. So.
I was going to say to Ryan's point here real quick, I'll let Tyler go. I was going to say there, I wish I would have took that bet earlier in the year. It was like 34 wins or something like that they would get this year in the play-in game.
Well, they're on it now.
Dummy. I don't bet enough to actually go follow through with these things. And it would have only been a dad bet. It would have been $1, but still it would have made $5. It would have been a Big Mac. All right, Tyler, what do you think of the Kings part of that?
I really like the Kings. I like the way this roster is made up. Bringing Malik Monk back with De'Aaron Fox, two guys who played at Kentucky and were clearly best friends. They were literally bawling in the locker room when they lost to North Carolina, I believe.
Yeah.
And I have loved De'Aaron Fox ever since that. You could tell how much he hated losing. You knew he was a competitor. And then they have the veterans and Harrison Barnes, and then and Sabonis to just calming influences. Yeah, they don't have Barnes has playoff experience. Sabonis doesn't really any success anyway. And then they brought in the shooters and Herder, Monk, like I brought up before. And then they have a defender in Davion Mitchell, and they have another veteran in Lyles coming off of that. I just like the way this team's built. They can't stop anybody, which is going to be an issue in the playoffs, but they'll score on anybody. They have a winning record on the road and at home. I think they're better than we're actually letting on at this point. I just think the previous failures for the past 20 years are still in our I think this team could get to the Western Conference Finals if they get the right matchups. Would I bet on it? No. I think they could lose in the first round, and I wouldn't be shocked either. Let's be real.
And to your point, we saw that last year with Dallas make a run too, right? We see with Portland a few years ago when they played the Warriors. I mean, it does happen where these teams that you're not expecting, they do have good seasons, they just get the right matchup along the way and they go there. And with Sabonis and Fox, you're always going to have a chance. Those are the two most important positions. I think it will come down to the Warriors fans will relate. Can Harrison Barnes in a corner? And that'll be my part with the Warriors on that one. I always think Fox. His memory with me is I don't know, at the time I remember Lonzo Ball being on UCLA, and I kind of I don't know, he was getting hype, and I liked it because there's a Pac-12 school or Pac-10, whatever it is out here. And I remember they went and played in Kentucky. And Fox just put on a show there against him. And
that was in the tournament. That was
was that? Oh, you're right. That was in the tournament. And I just remember thinking, man, I was like, maybe he's actually going to be better. But then, Ball ended up going with the first pick there. So, that's what it was.
Damn right about that, Ryan.
That's why I agree with them. They hired Mike and they had to defend the park car. If you look at that Clippers Kings box score, it was just. It's hilarious. I love looking through that stuff, 40. I mean, it was not good at all. So that will be the issue. Can they defend in front? You have to be able to make a stop in times in the playoffs. You have to be. And they foul a ton on rebounds. So that would be something I'd look for them going into the playoffs as well. Now, if they have the home field advantage against the right matchup, like we said, that's enough to keep it there. All right, let's keep it going there with it. All right, just maybe real quick here with them. I don't know why this one fascinated me this week. And I just questioned Cat by it. He's to me just this interesting player. I don't want to go deep. Will he ever make an all-star game again? Remember, Brian, the number one pick out of LSU, Ben Simmons, the lefty out of Australia. All the hype.
Is he the OBJ of the NBA?
Hey, that rhymed. I like that.
Disrespectful to OBJ.
That rhymed. Nice job, Brian. DJ Johnson over here. I like it.
Yeah, the guy just seems like so much drama. He kind of reminds me of OBJ a little bit.
They both went to LSU too.
They did. That's a great point there. I remember him being the number one recruit. I mean, William, if you cannot shoot from outside the box or even from the box,
I keep giving him credit.
As an NBA player, don't date a Kardashian. That's really bad. It's going to screw up your career.
Right,
don't do it.
Right. We should have done that under Wake and Hot Take. That's right there. For next week. Say that for next week. All right. What do you think of that, William? Real quick, Ben Simmons. You think there's a chance he's an all-star again? Any chance?
Any chance? Wow. I mean, I think there is a chance. It's just I feel like it's crazy as fall off. He's supposed to be a part of this big three with Kyrie and KD this year, and this is supposed to be the ideal situation for him, but it's just it's wild. I don't think he's ever an all-star again. I think I'm so curious what happens now though. It's if for him it just feels like all-star or bust, what are you going to do with this guy that can't shoot? That he's a multi-positional defender, but he's just Kenneth Faried at this point. Not even Kenneth Faried, just
I think Kenneth Faried.
Who am I thinking of? A Rondé Hollis Jefferson or something, who was a former Brooklyn Net,
that's a name. I forgot that guy. That's a name.
Former Wildcat.
You know what he kind of reminds me of his career going down is Michael Gilchrist, where he just couldn't shoot it at all, Tyler. That's kind of what it reminds me of. And the thing with his too is I think his ego is a little bit there with it as well. I think, like Brian said, that might play to the OBJ part a little bit more. What do you think, Tyler?
If he finds it, not on the Nets, there's no chance in hell because they're not good enough. If he finds himself in a Draymond Green situation where he's just asked to get 6, 6, and 6, even 4, I guess. I don't want to end with 3 6s.
He can't shoot at all.
Draymond can't shoot at all.
Draymond can shoot.
He can at least shoot a 3.
He's shooting 33% this year.
Simmons doesn't even attempt.
That's a career high.
Simmons doesn't even attempt. I feel like Simmons was at that part Draymond was last year, that little peak. That's why I feel like Simmons is good.
The last 3 years. This year, Draymond's shooting better than I'll give him credit. He's actually taking shots. I'm happy with his offense this year. But years past, last year he was an all-star and he did not shoot the ball.
Yeah,
I think Simmons can get there. I don't expect it to happen anytime soon.
It's not a bad point there. The only thing with Simmons, the only difference with Rondo with me is Rondo at least has some dog in him a little bit there. That's the thing.
That's the biggest
Oh
difference.
man.
Probably more than a little dog. And
I feel like you're insulting Rondo by trying to compare him to Ben Simmons.
But I agree with his point though. Is like that's where Simmons should be focused on. Like he should be focused on getting 10, 10, and 10 from that size. Like at least Rondo would attempt a layup. Like learn to finish layups at least. You know what I mean? Do a floater. That's all you have to do at least. Then be aggressive like that. So I like.
You're 6'8", dunk the ball for crying out loud. When you're athletic.
You say that about a Donald Foyle. Dunk it, Donald. Dunk the ball. Dunk the ball.
Volleyball putback.
Stop dunking over Shaq. Don't let him lay.
I mean, it started when he got drafted by the 76ers. The guy had so much promise, but he just hasn't fulfilled that at all.
No.
Next LeBron.
How bad have the
LeBron.
Sixers effed up drafting Markel Fultz and drafted Ben Simmons as their like 2 point guards of the future, and just both of them have busted.
They had Tyler, that one rookie of the year that kind of was like a guy that couldn't shoot.
Julio Okafor.
Well, that Cy Gilgeous Alexander or Michael? No,
wasn't Michael.
Who's the guy you just mentioned that you thought?
Was it?
I said Michael Gilchrist, but he was from he got drafted by the Bobcats.
He went.
Was it? How recent was it?
He won Rookie of the Year at the Sixers. I just
2015, maybe.
He was like a lanky guy. I think he was.
He went to Syracuse.
Yeah, I can't think of.
Oh,
but he kind of reminds me of the same mold where he like could shoot a little bit. I think he was on the Magic maybe as much as a year ago or something like that. Something Carter.
Michael Carter Williams.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Michael Carter Williams. Right.
There it is, Ryan. Thank you very much, Michael Carter Williams. It took me about 10 minutes, but I got.
Yeah, I think that was a little earlier than 2015 because I remember his first game was against the Heatles. And he put up like 30 and some. Yeah, and like
you're right. He put up like a triple double, right?
Yeah, he had like 30 points and like I don't know, either 30 points for a triple double or 30-point triple double. I don't remember, but it was a crazy game. So I wish
in 2013. My bad.
Yeah.
William, again, we got a couple more here for you. Thanks for jumping on this morning here. It started out dark in your background. It's now getting lighter back there. So that means we're moving along here in the podcast. I know we're going on almost an hour here, but it's big going quick. Appreciate it. Appreciate you joining on again with us here, just talking hoops. It's been fun. A couple more here. We'll get you out. Just real quick, who you got is your MVP? You did a great job before the season. I read your article there. You had Davis in the mix for a little bit. You had Giannis in there. I think you had Luka in there as well. I think Luka was your pick, right? Is that
Luka was my pick. Yeah.
So is that who you're going with 20 games left, or you got to go? You spin it off to maybe Embiid or something like that?
I think. That's a hard question because this is probably like I was actually just looking up the other day about like when was the last time like more than 4 people got a first place vote, and it was like 05-06, and I think it was Elton Brand and stuff, and I think he got like that was like the 5th player to get a first place vote. That was like the last time we had, and I think we definitely could see that again this year. You know, we just have so many like. So many like in the East, like you could give it to Tatum or Giannis or Embiid or, and I don't like, and then in the West, of course, like I think Jokic in the ideal world.
He's not allowed to get 3 in a row, William.
I know that's the thing is like if it wasn't for the narrative around him getting 3, like then I think it would be him, but like there is the 3, and I think he's going to be in the race, but. I think I'm going to go with Tatum. I think it goes along with like your, what you're talking about, the Celtics, kind of cementing themselves as like the favorite. I think he's been really good. He had the shot last night, which if Embiid's didn't count. So, I mean, I guess what we have to remember at this point is Tatum hitting the game winner last night. So I think Tatum's my pick as of right now. Just
that was a crazy last 5 minutes. Like how he made that shot was crazy. Brian, who do you guys MVP go? Jokic?
No, I'm going to go with Tatum from Boston as well.
Yeah.
I feel like with Jokic, it's funny. Like what do you have? Like the 5 and 6 seed the last 2 years, and then he ends up getting the 1 seed this year probably. And right now they have a pretty good lead on the West, even though the Grizzlies beat him last night. Maybe the Grizzlies cut in on the lead here shortly, but. It'd be funny if they end up at the number 1 seed. He has like similar stats. He doesn't get it with like, kind of a weird thing in that regard. Tyler, who do you guys the MVP?
I think Embiid's been the best player, but I think Jokic is going to get it again just because they're going to finish as the 1 seed, and his numbers are the same as they were the past 2 years. I don't know how he doesn't get it.
I have a question on that. Sorry, how do you guys feel about non-top 3 seeds getting MVP, like the player getting it. If you're not in the top 2 seed. Yeah.
I don't know how I
I'm
feel
okay
about
with
it, to be honest. But go ahead,
I'm okay with it. I feel like at this point, the NBA, it's just like kind of the deal. I feel like it's kind of like you said. I feel like it's more just like it's not. It's either going to go to the top seed or it's going to go to somebody with the best numbers, even if they don't have the. And then there is the narrative. You can't deny that with the MVP and the NBA every year. There is a narrative with the MVP. It's like, you know what I mean? It starts at the beginning of the year. This year, not as much, I noticed. But I've noticed that it's like that's kind of the narrative. Like you said, Jokic is kind of not going to get 3 in a row. Then you have Giannis there, who's now kind of starting to push himself out there because he's injuries a little bit. Tatum is the number 1 seed. Like you said, he should be the favorite with it. I picked Ja Morant at the beginning of the year. I thought he was the one that was going to get it for me, but he wasn't able to. Is that your internet too?
Not me.
Did you get an emergency alert from the river?
Too much snow?
Yeah, exactly.
No, it was a child abduction.
That's nothing to laugh about.
You got that one? We're getting those on there. All right. Here's my William. Just real quick from you, I want to ask you, since let's see, I'm 38. You're 19. I want to say maybe 20.
Yeah,
Who's
19.
Your favorite player? Who's your favorite players of all time? Or is there a game? I always like doing rewatchables. Is there a game that you kind of like stands out to you that I might not be thinking of, something like that?
That's such a good question. I wish you had told me you were going to ask that because I would have thought about it more.
Well, I'll give you a second as we go around the circle because guess what? You're not by yourself today. So that's
okay. All right. Yeah, try to come back to me if you can.
But I remember, William, we had that discussion of if people don't know me and William, we go way back. I coached him over at Windsor Christian Academy, so we've known each other for a long time. I remember when William was like in your 3rd grade. One time I saw you play like our little chapel ball league, and I was like, okay, this guy has a nose for the ball. I hope he stays at Windsor Christian Academy. We finally did win a championship that year with you guys. I remember we talked about Harden. It seemed like you guys defended Harden more than me. Is he one of your favorite players, or does he annoy you in that regard? Like, is he kind of one of those? Because I didn't even have him in the top 5, and I was like, I guess maybe I should. You're right, his numbers are up there, but I did it. It's just my hate for Harden, I think, keeps him out of that stuff.
He's not one of my favorite players of all time. I mean, I just defend. I think it's like kind of, you kind of have to have him in your top 5 at this point. I think that's like what where we're at kind of with the times now. But my favorite players, I think, my favorite player all time is of course Draymond. Like Draymond's my all time favorite player. I've always even now in my intramural basketball league, I'm like. I have this guy on my team. He's like a really good shooter, and I just like playing like Draymond. I like giving him handoffs and playing off ball and sending him screens and stuff. So I just love Draymond. And so yeah, Draymond of course all time. And sometimes my other favorite players, it kind of fluctuates. I've been really I liked Bradley Beal for a while. Like he was one of my favorite players.
Now he's to me one of the more overrated players because of his contract.
Yeah, because the contract, it's annoying how that happens.
And his teams are always like in 9th or 10th place.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, next time I'll give you a little bit more time to think about that one with it. You have to tweet me a few out with it. I got one last thing before we let you go with it.
Yeah.
We got question of the week here, presented by Row One Brand. Use the code VSN15. You'll get 15% off anything in the art gallery. All right, let me ask you this. You're younger. We talked about it a little bit last week. We saw the All-Star game. It was pathetic. There was no defense played. I guess my quick question to you on this would be, guys, let's start with you, Tyler. Can the All-Star game be saved? And to me, it really just comes down to will the players ever care again?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's to be saved. I don't think it's the players will ever care. I mean, the Kings played an All-Star game the game after the All-Star game because they didn't get to play in the All-Star game. I mean, it's just I don't think the players care about the All-Star game. No, they're not going to give them enough money to play in it. And
Brian, the NBA misses a Kobe. They misses the Iverson that really kind of forced the hand for some of the other players. Don't you think? Don't you think if one guy just played defense and okay, we blocked a shot, the other team might be they might be I don't know. What do you think, Brian?
Maybe you should start playing.
Yeah, I mean, there was that All-Star game where Kobe guarded Michael Jordan, and they just don't have that aspect to it anymore.
No, it's not the same competitiveness. William, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I can I be honest? I didn't even watch the All-Star game this year. I just I heard some interesting prescriptions to save it. maybe make it East-West again and make it whatever team wins it, they get home court advantage. But I think that opens up its own can of worms. Like there's problems with that too. So
Never follow baseball's method.
Is that baseball's method?
Baseball did that.
It
Yeah,
was.
Okay.
Don't do that. That's
Yeah, I don't know. I think the All-Star festivities can. I mean, there's practical ways to save that. You know, I think it's just getting bigger talents in like the dunk contest, 3-point contest, stuff like that. But yeah.
So did you try to do dodgeball like the NFL did?
No, don't follow the NFL either. That's
They're
dead.
bigger target. Dodgeball. They got out there. Steph Curry. It's diving.
We're throwing lunches.
LeBron James. I like Brian. I love that idea. It's actually not bad. You got people hiking the ball for making XOs out of it, playing tic-tac-toe, but shooting threes. No, my thing is this. It's supposed to be your showcase for the NBA event. Like, it's supposed to be your showcase, and you have G League players in your dunk contest. You know, they already have their separate dunk contest. You just need guys. You just need somebody on the other end to say, I'm going to play a little defense. It doesn't have to be a lot. That's literally what it comes down to, because usually if you're playing against your friend and they play a little harder, you're going to play a lot. It's just kind of naturally how it's going to work. So until that ever happens again, I don't see it being able to be saved in that regard. So, William, I want to give you the last thought here. Thanks again for jumping on with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
NBA. I know you're doing school out there, finishing up here. They'll probably. What do you guys? You guys do quarter semesters out there?
Yeah, quarters. So I got like 3 weeks left. All
right, so you're finishing that up. I know you're doing the radio thing. I know you're busy. You got up early yesterday. You got up early with us today. What do you got? What else you got going on in the radio game? Where can we check you out on that stuff?
Yeah, you could find my show online. If you're in the area, you could 88.1 FM, 6 to 7 a.m. on Saturdays. But like if you're like you guys and kind of just not in the Santa Cruz area, you could find it on the KZSC website. You just got to go to the schedule and you could just find my show. It's Dubs and Discourse. And again, it's if you're not live, you could also just find it recorded on the schedule on the website. So yeah, every Saturday from 6 to 7 a.m.
Sweet. Like I said, thanks again for jumping on with me and Tyler. It was fun having you on, like, finally like this to kind of get your perspective on some of the NBA
Yeah,
stuff.
this is great.
Good follow on Twitter, obviously, and hopefully we'll have you on again, maybe around the playoff time or something like that.
Yeah,
and, we can talk a little playoffs there. See how the Warriors are finishing up with it.
that'd be so fun.
I didn't want to mention. I'll give you a little love as we go out. Now you can fight. You can beat me 1-on-1 now, right? Officially. Last time I played, I remember I told Anna. I was like, I think William's better than me now. I think he can post me up better. I'm not getting any rebound. I don't get any rebound. I said, I can't. He's full court pressing me. I can't get mine.
Yeah.
So, William, thanks again, man. And like I said, we appreciate it. I hope everything finishes out there with the rest of this quarter.
I appreciate it. Can I? Yep. I have one last. One last thing I wanted to ask you guys. Yeah. First of all, I want to go back to my favorite player thing. Isaiah Thomas, Boston Celtics. Isaiah Thomas, one of my favorite players of all time. But also, a question for you guys is, what do you guys look for when you're watching games? Just
That's a good question. Go ahead, T.
It depends who's playing and who's. I normally watch. The ball, obviously, and then I'll just watch ball movement and like player movement. And if it's not stagnant and just like. That's the reason I hate Dallas is I hate watching Luka Doncic play. He's great. He's amazing. But just the whole pick and roll at the top of the key, like Harden used to do, and it's just not my – so, like, I like to watch ball movement and player movement mostly.
Brian, you got something you like to watch with it?
I like the big-time matchups if you got, like, Phoenix versus, the Celtics or, like, if it's like – I would like to see the Kings versus Dallas in the playoffs. That would be pretty entertaining.
No, for sure. That would be definitely entertaining. I think for me, I always look at it a couple ways. When I try to watch a game, I'm like Tyler, I watch a lot of off the ball stuff now. I really watch the guys that screen and do like kind of the little things because that tells me their intelligence is higher than some people on that regard. And just there's certain ways they move without the ball. I really watch that. And I always like to watch the coach a little bit in the bench and see what they're doing to react a little bit. Those are small little things I'll watch during the game. And then emotion. That's the number one. I love, that. I love guys that just have a little basketball soul in them. And I love to see that when they play like out there. So those are the guys I kind of – that's why I like my favorite player is the guy on the Pelicans. Alvarado. There's something about him that I love that type of energy and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's what I look for when I'm out there.
Cool.
When I'm trying to watch a game, stuff like that. That's a good question, though. That's
Yeah,
also our question of the week, brought to you by Row One Brand there. So, William, thank you. You gave us two questions.
All right.
For Row One Brand. That now you can save 30%. We'll double it 50. No, just kidding.
Making up rules as we go.
We'll double it up there.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah.
All right, William. Thanks again,
All right.
man. Have a good one.
Thank you
thanks for
guys.
coming on.
Yeah.
Later. That was awesome having William on there, talking a little NBA. Like I said, it's funny going back as far back as we go back to be able to now talk like legit sports with him, Tyler, like that. It's pretty awesome. And now, like I said, he's kicking my ass in basketball. So
I would
probably
probably go with my favorite player is Reggie Miller, just because he made the Knicks' life a living hell.
Reggie Miller was a killer. Yeah, getting him out, posted him on later in the week on some tweets there. I remember with him when we went to a baseball game. I should have brought this up with him when he was on, but I remember, but he knew nothing about baseball. It was so funny for me, like talking to him about baseball. This other guy, Ethan, we went to, who I coached as well, and it was just funny. Like they had never been to a game before, so it was like really crazy to break down like the sport in old general. Like, why are they going to first? Like, all that kind of stuff, and like just kind of breaking all it down. It was just like crazy. So I appreciate William coming on and doing this. Obviously, we've been on gentlemen for a while here, but I'm just going to keep going with it. And if you got to leave, you leave. But I'm going to keep going through it. We're on live, like we said, still, so people are on with it. Come and join us. Brian, I want to get into the NFL real quick here. Let's not go the Niners drama as much because we kind of talked about that in your guys' TMB podcast. But I kind of wanted to touch on the Raiders pick here at 7 a little bit. I feel like the Raiders, as I was digging into the NFL season a little bit here, kind of think what the Raiders might do at that pick. A lot of people think they might trade down. I don't see that being the option. So, like, pretty much in every mock draft, it has them taking an offensive player. And most of them are offensive tackles. And I'm like, there must be no legit defenders out there because that's obviously what the Raiders need the most. So the thing I saw the most was they're taking the guy out of Ohio State, the offensive lineman, or the quarterback out of Kentucky. What do you think the Raiders maybe should do at 7 there?
I mean, if they have a legit defensive player, you gotta go with him. But if the defensive player isn't there, then they could always use offensive line because their offensive line wasn't the greatest. So
no, not at all in that regard. I just with the offensive line, it's always one of those picks where I'm like, you know what I mean? Like you're kind of like, I don't know, Tyler. Like I know you think they should probably take a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, not the Kentucky quarterback. Don't touch him. He's not going to be, especially on the Raiders. I don't think he'll fit. I expect him to take offensive line. I knew Peter Skoransky from Northwestern or the Ohio State guy. You don't need a receiver. You don't need you might need a running back, but that's a dime a dozen.
I know Darren wants a middle linebacker.
Doesn't look like there's any of this draft we could have with it. I was going to touch on with the Niners with that draft quarterback controversy. The only thing I was going to say was it's just amazing to me that you guys just continue to have this cycle of like kind of like these funny things. Brian, you tweeted out Team Lance. We got to keep that going. Hashtag Team Lance or hashtag Team Pretty. That should be our thing, Brian.
Yeah, I think you showed him at a Warriors game enjoying himself.
That should be our thing now. We got to make it a thing now for your guys.
And really good news I want to touch on is that Jimmy G's definitely not coming back. There's a report that he wants $20 million a year. So we're not going to give him that.
Nobody's giving him $20 million a year. Nobody's giving him $20 million a year. There's no way. Not guaranteed, anyways. That's not happening at all. Couple other things, NFL quick notes I wanted to get into as I got the Rams. Looks like they're going to trade Ramsey. It'd be interesting where he goes. I feel like he's going to end up on the Bengals. I feel like now, like contender, like the Chiefs, Bengals, or Bills. Like we talked about teams.
I picked Detroit.
Detroit. That was I actually had them on the list as well, but that's not a bad spot.
You guys think the Rams are kind of because of they gave up too many picks and the salary cap? You think they're just blowing things up now?
I don't know if they're fully blowing it up. I mean, if they start trading Cup and guys like that, then I guess they're fully blowing it up. But I don't know. What do you think?
But I just don't see why would Stafford. I see Stafford retiring. I don't see why he would come back and deal with a not great offensive line and get beat up again.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Brian, you bring up a good point. You say they're blowing it up because they traded too much, but they did get a Super Bowl. Was that would you take that from the 49ers if they won a Super Bowl and then they have to blow it up 2 years later and they become the bottom feeders for a couple of years? Is that worth it?
I guess it's like I would consider it a double-edged sword because you won the Super Bowl, but now your team's really bad, so they're hard to watch. So would you want to
take that trade?
Would you just want a sustainability where you're making the playoffs every year? Or do you want win it one year and be like the Marlins and blow it up and then have like a AAA team the next year?
I wouldn't want that.
Lee.
I wouldn't want that, but but I think football is different. It's a little different in that regard with it. I don't know. We'll see, Tyler. With the, I feel like with the Rams, I don't know. I feel like in the NFL you can just turn things around real quick. So they still have Kupp and they still have Stafford. I mean, and they still have like their main guys. I still think they'd be okay. So
Donald.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. I was forgetting who that was. The little last quick note here, Brian, your guy, he made it out of the darkness. Aaron Rodgers. He came out probably looking like as pale as could be. Coming out there in the sun in Oregon, probably naked, knowing him, the little weird guy out there. He got fully refreshed.
What are you talking about?
His odd stuff.
Yeah, so somebody made a joke on Facebook and said another 12 months with no Super Bowl win.
That's what the thought is coming at. He has to go to the dark hole for it. I don't know. So those are my NFL quick hits with it. I'm gonna, like I said on the show here, I want to keep going with the little Raiders Niners every week just to kind of touch on the teams here around the that we like. We'll get obviously more into the Raiders as the.
I guess another quick.
Go ahead, Brian.
Another quick hit is that Derek Carr saying he wants $35 million a season. So I thought that was interesting because I thought of you, Darren, where you're like you're probably glad we don't have to deal with this anymore.
$35 million for he probably will get it. I mean, people forget at one point Carr was the highest paid quarterback and Jimmy Garoppolo were the highest paid quarterback for just a little bit, for a very short time. They were the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, Tyler. It is crazy to think they were. Carr's not getting $35 million.
No, Daniel Jones asked for 40, I guess, from the Giants. This is where they start. It's going to come down. It's just the way that they are. You got to negotiate, and you start the bar high and meet somewhere below that.
I got here going on with we need your help with the show. Like I always like to say, please like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate William jumping on with us, getting to a lot of topics today. Ryan Harris jumped on with us. P Shark. We had Logan with the baseball update, Machado style, like that. Getting the winners, losers here shortly, baseball style. We appreciate you guys tuning in and all those guys that make comments. Savage. We just really appreciate DA, all those guys. I mean, we just really appreciate you guys doing that stuff. Jimmy, like I said, we already mentioned them from far into the bench. So just we're going to continue to churn out content. So anything you guys can do to help us get that name out, we appreciate it there. Like I said, be a fatty, right, Tyler? That's kind of our slogan. I like that. Be a fatty. That's the key with us. Be a fatty. Join the Fatboy FadeAway movement here with it. What do you think, Tyler, as we kind of move on here to it? I'm going to go to this. If Ryan is out there listening, Ryan, this is a special segment just for you. This is a rarity out here on the Fatboy FadeAway, but I feel like it's necessary tonight. Special night at the tank. I love this kind of stuff. They retired Marleau's jersey. We knew it would be him eventually. The 31-year franchise, that's how long they've been around. They finally get their first jersey retired. Marleau was not able to win a cup, as we know, but probably the most beloved Shark, I would say. Maybe there's a few others that other people like too, but I mean, he played I think he has the record, I said, for most games ever played as well. Tyler, your thoughts on Marleau's jersey being retired, and just it's always a special night because it doesn't happen very often, and probably Thornton will be next, but after him, it won't probably happen for a long time. So very cool.
Just the biggest iron. Like, he was just an Iron Man. He played every game. You could depend on him being there. He scored goals in the playoffs and the regular season. He was always efficient scoring goals. Very undervalued. Just a great player. He got a lot of ridicule because Jeremy Roenick came out and made some comments about how he didn't have some dog in him and he wouldn't go to the net. Just some baloney. Just the best hockey player that's played in San Jose. He did what is the hardest thing to do in hockey, and that's score goals on a regular basis.
And he joined the Sharks in 1997, Brian. He's been around.
He's an 18-year-old kid.
I think at the time he was the youngest kid to score a goal in the NHL, or at least for that season, I believe. The thing that we always remember with him was the speed and the wrist shot. He had like an awesome wrist shot. He was always like that guy that never – I remember fans always got frustrated with him at times because he was kind of – I always called him the Ben Grieve of hockey emotion. He did have like any – he kind of showed no emotion out there at times. And when he did, I remember when he'd get in fights, it was kind of a big deal out there. For me, the ones I always remember is against the Blues. He had a game one. He got a hat trick against them in one of the series. Sorry, guys from Variety Sports Network. I know you guys are Blues
Not
fans,
sorry at all.
but those are the ones there. And then also I remember the one versus the Red Wings. We go up 3-0 on the breakaway. Thornton passes it to him to go up 3-0 there with it. And just like you said, his stats right there. They all say that they kind of do him justice in that regard. But even last night, all the players, what they were talking about. And the way they described him, like as a family man and all that stuff, you could tell there was like a different. I don't know, it just seemed different with him retiring. You don't hear many players. I know hockey players are considered the nicest in the league, anyways. But Brian, you lived with a Sharks fan for many years. What do you think, Ryan? Well, you might be listening as well, but what are your thoughts on Marleau and living with a Sharks fan for a little time there?
I think the best moment was Tyler came over and we were watching Cardinals Packers, and Ryan fell asleep during a playoff game, and Tyler said he's dreaming of little Sharkies. So.
Dreaming of the Sharkies. I bet Tyler doesn't even remember making that.
I have no memory of this, but I believe it happened.
What's your favorite moment of your brother with the Sharks that you remember? Like he stood out because he's passionate. I remember we would see him at the bars watching the game. Like we just don't around here. We're not used to that stuff, and so he kind of. My dad's into it now. I'm starting to watch a little bit more. What are your thoughts on it?
I mean.
No, let me get Tyler
with Ryan. It was.
Let me get Tyler real quick. Then I'll go back to you, Brian. Go ahead, T.
I mean, it's been my whole life. I used to come home from school, we'd eat dinner, and then Ryan would go to the back room, lay on the bed. I'd lay right next to him, and we'd watch Sharks hockey, and he'd get passionate about it. And then nowadays, it's just going to playoff games at Osceolas and he's an animal. He gets crazy. He's a fun guy to be around. The Sharks make him happy.
Favorite Shark?
Probably Archer Zerbe.
Urbe, get the shout out
Marleau,
there.
I don't know, or Thornton.
I'm just guessing. Brian, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say going to Osceolas all the time, watching Sharks playoff games. That was definitely the memories with Ryan.
Yeah, Marleau there. I just feel like that number 12 being retired is really cool in Sharks history. That's why I wanted to bring it up. We don't talk about it much. We talked about Marleau about a year ago, I think, Tyler, when we heard it might happen when he retired. I remember we talked about it when he retired, but I wanted to give him just a little bit more love. And like we don't watch a ton of hockey, but we did watch Sharks playoff hockey a little bit more, but they were decent in that regard. So I wanted to shout that part out with it. All right, real quick here, I have with hockey as well though. I have the my Sharks investment idea. I didn't get to it last week. Is I tried to convince Hada to get season tickets in advance, so when they do get good, we can sell them for better or be able to go to the game. I'm trying to tell Hada like it's worth it now. They suck. Let's see if we can get the tickets low right now, and then we can do it. What do you think,
sell them to Ryan.
Is that a good investment idea? Ryan, would you go 50-50 on that with me?
I feel like anything in sports is a good investment if you're reselling.
Well, I don't like it when Tyler takes off his hat or rubs his forehead. That tells me he doesn't like the idea very much. So we're gonna go with that after that. That's the sign that he doesn't like it there. Irving, Nolan, Thornton, my top three. That you're right then. Yeah, Owen Nolan, the half ice shot against the Blues. I remember that game 7. That's always my favorite one. Thornton probably will get that. Probably get his number retired next week, I would think, or next year, I would think next week. Next year. The Miracle on Ice. I wanted to get into that too real quick. I saw that this week. I always feel like that's always an interesting part of American history. That movie always kind of captivates me. I know a lot of people don't like it, but I love that movie, the Miracle one there. Tyler, that's always been a big deal. It's just like crazy how that one will never go away, it seems.
Yeah, it's something that just part of like American history. It's part of like pop culture. You bring it up to like someone who was alive back then, and it was like the biggest moment, and it wasn't even live on TV, which is just wild to think about. But yeah, it's just like part of pop culture, and it's part of American history. A lot was going on between Russia and America back then, and yeah.
Your brother chiming in with the Sharks idea. That's a terrible one. I'm looking for the future. I know I always like. It's never good when they're like. The guy when last night I'm listening to the thing and they're like, "Yep, the Sharks. They're trying to find out what their best lines are going to be for next year right now." And I'm like, "Oh, they're like almost in last place, and that's not good if we're still trying to figure that out next year, trying to go." So not good going into it.
There is a really top prospect who's supposed to be as good as like Connor McDavid and
Well, if that's the case, then maybe
like Sidney Crosby. So hopefully they get the first pick. That'd be nice.
That's what we need. They need to get that part of it. The last thing for me with the Miracle is just like you said, it's just something that always comes up every year. And like to me, it's like just Al Michaels' call is to me what always kind of gets you at that, Brian. I think.
Good point.
All right, kind of been a longer show than usual, I know here, but it's been kind of a good show. I think with us going live, sometimes that's what's going to happen once in a while. So I appreciate people still tuning in with us, catching us. If you're joining us a little bit later in the morning here. All right, last part of the show, boys. We always do it. Winners and losers of the week, presented here by SeatGeek. Use the code VSN to get $20 off your first purchase of Sharks tickets right there. You get your Sharks ticket to get $20 off. Brian, you got a loser of the week?
Yeah, the players getting used to the pitch count in Major League Baseball, because I was watching some of the players' reactions and they didn't know. They're kind of laughing at it and they didn't know,
Oh, it was funny to watch. You're right. That's definitely on one of mine with it. I don't know if I have it as loser of the week. I kind of have it as in both skips. There's kind of a little bit of losers because of the whining about it. That was kind of the stuff I didn't like about it with it. Tyler, you got a loser of the week?
Yeah, it's my Arizona Wildcats. They lost a home game to Arizona State, and it just looks like the same old team. They can beat up on the Pac-12, but once they play good teams from the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10, it's just going to be another Sweet 16 at best for my Arizona Wildcats.
I had a loser of the week. I got Poole, gets no respect. He gets punched out and Clay pushes away. Even if the bench said it, if anybody sees this video of Clay getting Poole off the free throw line, it was funny. Last game versus the Rockets during a technical. Really good stuff. I tweeted it the other day, so take a look at it. Purdy gets his surgery delayed. They talked about it on the TNB podcast. That's a loser of the week. The Alabama basketball situation, their program, I don't understand. I mean, I'm not even going to touch the idea that he's playing in the game, but then you have the little pregame thing where they're patting him down. We did it. Even if you say you did it the whole season, even if you do it, even if you say you did that the whole season, you can't. You know what I mean? Like you can't do that. You can't. It's just not smart doing that. It's just like, where are you in the moment? So not smart there at all. I also have Tyler making it as loser of the week. I wanted to have yours for like a month here, but I keep forgetting to put at it because it always cracks me up. Is on the TNB on your Twitter.
We're going back a month.
But I keep forgetting to put you as loser of the week. Is that I always laugh because on Twitter, right? See if I can share the screen somehow. But if I go to your page on Twitter, let me go to your page here real quick if I can get it up. But if I go to your page on Twitter, you go to because it says co-host of Fatboy FadeAway and the co-host of the TNB podcast. But if you click on the TNB podcast, it always takes me to a podcast called Tea and Biscuits from England, and there's two females that do the podcast. So you have the wrong thing up there, and it always cracks me up. I've been wanting to tell you for a month, and I keep forgetting that I keep getting sent to Tea and Biscuits. That's what I keep getting sent to. Let me see if I can share. I gotta see if I can share the screen real quick here. I gotta see if. Give me just a second. It's kind of funny. It's kind of funny. Let me see if I can do it. Let's see. Window. Yeah, entire screen. Share. Oh, it's not gonna let me, but whatever. I always thought it was funny that it was getting sent me to two women from England. So Tyler, you also mentioned get loser of the week for TNB podcast. Also be Tea Biscuit. So unless you're on the Tea and Biscuit podcast, let me know and I'll check it out.
What is this Tea and Biscuits?
Tea and Biscuits from it. Brian and you doing a Tea and Biscuits podcast. I like it. That's awesome.
And a little.
So you go as my loser of the week. That was hilarious. I wanted to tell you forever on that. Brian, winner of the week. Let's make it a good finish here. Who's your winner of the week?
I'm going to say Trey Lance. All this Purdy surgery, he's like moved ahead, and he looks like he's starting to throw. And I say he's the winner of the week.
Team Lance, hashtag Team Lance. We're going to keep that going, Brian, into now that time we're in the VSN football, hashtag Team Lance going into the season. We're going to have to make that a thing here with that.
And then we had to get an Adam Mac Jones is better.
Yeah, I still Noodle Arm, one of my favorite nicknames, Brian. I got to give you credit on that one. Tyler, you got some winners of the week here?
Yeah, we mentioned it earlier. It's just Klay Thompson, just the performance he had against the Rockets, 12 threes, 42 points, twice in 2 weeks. He's an all-time great, and I think he's one of the most underappreciated players of this generation.
And it's still crazy. No twos. That's just kind of one of those. It's definitely.
He only attempted 1 2.
I know it's a Klay Thompson stat as usual. There's always these weird like shooting stats. He's gonna have them all. All right, a couple here to end them. I got Arizona State buzzer beater. That's a winner of the week. Tyler added this loser of the week. I got it. That's a winner of the week. I got that, like we already mentioned, Miracle. I got snow in Cloverdale. One more time, I'm gonna mention it. Winner of the week. I can't believe I saw snow for the first time in my freaking life. Bride fall. That's a winner of the week here. Jersey retirements, talked about that. The last inbound set, talked about that. Pitch clock in Major League Baseball. Last thing here with it. I like it, Johnson. Get your butt in the box. They're not going to call it probably as ticky-tack as that. My guess is in a World Series situation, and the ump probably won't have the testicular fortitude to call that, as we say in the – I don't think he'll be able to get that call like the end of the World Series on something like that. But I do like it from the fact that it does have a little pace. The players will figure it out. It did crack me up, the first video with the Padres guy. He was going off with like 8 seconds left. Like, you have a little bit more time. It won't be as rushed as that. But I think it's good. I think it's good, Tyler. I think it's
good for baseball.
What do you think real quick with it?
It seems like baseball finally did something that's going to help the game. It's been probably a century since they've done it. When's the last time they did something good for baseball? Like, this seems like the first thing since they integrated back in the 50s or 60s was the last time they did something.
I agree. It's been I think it's been a while for it. I don't know. What do you think, Brian, of that? The pitch clock, you said, was maybe a loser, but I think the players will end up adjusting to it. I think it will end up being better for the league.
I thought it was funny. A guy from the Braves, it looked like the umpire said he was out or something. He was just sitting he couldn't believe it. He just kept laughing.
So you get your butt in the box, man. You got 8 seconds. What are you doing over there? I think it's bad. Tyler, is there a scenario where you find it more interesting, like where this might intrigues you a little bit? Like, because obviously for every game and the pace, but I'm thinking like for me, like the 9th inning, like in a 1-run game, right? Like the closers usually are deliberately slower. The moments are more intense. The closers usually have more energy because they're saving 50 seconds a pitch a minute, right, to throw. That would be interesting to me in that time frame because the players on the bases will have to think quicker. The coaches will have to think quicker with their signs. It's almost like they're going to have to give 2 signs ahead of time sometimes. And that's where the game, to me, with the pitch clock is really going to be the most fascinating, is the 8th and 9th inning.
Oh, for sure, because those pitchers take a minute between pitches sometimes. Like, they literally walk around the mound. They put some little grip on their hands, and they take forever to throw the ball. Like, Fetters had to do his deep breaths and yeah. I don't understand where these hitters think they were not going to be able to be struck. Like Joey Votto said, I can't imagine someone striking me out with only 8 pitches, or 8 seconds to throw a pitch. I don't get
we'll have more time
aspect
than that.
of it.
They have 15.
Well, 15 seconds or something. But I don't get that aspect where the pitchers are going to be significantly worse. I think it's going to make everyone better at I don't know how it hurts at all.
I think it makes it evens a little bit of the playing field because the pitchers were getting too much of an advantage. That's what the stats are saying. And so it makes the pitchers have to not get as much energy every pitch. So I like it. Rafael Betancourt to me is the worst. Every time he pitched, I said, I'm changing the channel, not watching
the human rain delay.
The human rain delay, about 30-minute game there with it. So that was good, guys. Winner and losers of the week. Like I said below, be a fatty. Try to tune in, get our merch if you can. Tyler, Brian, you've been joining with us now every week. I'm gonna put your picture up there now with that. I gotta Photoshop your picture on Casey's body up there.
Yeah, that would be great. So when I come home for Christmas, I can give him crap about it.
Yeah, your face on his body, that'd be great. Or your face on no, but it's good having you, man. Always as a regular. Love your little points with it, and you kind of see sports from a different angle, so it's kind of always great getting your stuff on it. You and Tyler do a good job on TMB, like you guys did this week. Thanks for having me on with it, Tyler. What'd you think having William on? I thought he was pretty good.
2 young kids the last month. They've both been very impressive for their age. They know what they're talking about. I was very impressed. William, thank you for coming on. Let's play ball when you get back into town. Darren set that up.
Get a little best. Yeah, Darren set that up. Darren, now we get that set up. All right. With that said, episode 125 in the books. We're going on hour 30 here. Tyler, Brian, till next week. Peace.
Thanks.